Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm presidential candidate Austin Petersen for the Libertarian Party. Today I wanted to talk to you about a big story. This is something that's very important to our national news cycle, and this is the crisis of water treatment in Flint, Michigan. And the reason why this is an important story is not just because there are thousands of people suffering right now as a direct result of government policy, which we'll get into in just a few moments. But the reason why this is important is because this is one of those stories that comes out that the left or Democrats will use to try and paint as a problem of unregulated free markets. And I'm going to talk to you today about why that isn't the case. And this isn't a partisan issue. This isn't me just trying to bash Democrats because they have a Republican governor, of course, Rick Snyder. And the reason why this is an important story is because it's not a partisan story. Both of the Republican and Democratic parties are going to try and paint this as a partisan issue, but it's not. It's an issue of government regulation and of how the free market can solve the problems that we have. And no, I'm not going to wait until after the football game to talk about this, because these are problems that are actually affecting people right now. And these are actually more important than a silly game. So let's talk about the crisis in Flint, Michigan, and how this became a federal emergency. And and now it's a federal emergency. So what could have been a local problem has now become a federal problem because of the mismanagement of government. This isn't a partisan issue. This is a government issue. Now listen to this. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder gave a State of the State address following remarks he made about how he's made mistakes in handling the Flint water crisis. Now this isn't just the crisis in Flint, all right? This is about the crisis of misunderstanding of how government should not be involved in providing things like water. Now listen to this. He says, "I'm sorry, and I will fix it," he said in the opening of his speech. He says, "Government failed you at the federal, state, and local level." Okay? The state downplayed and largely ignored the immediate complaints about the smell, color, and taste in the water of 2014. The Flint drinking water became contaminated with lead in April of 2014, while the city was under control of a state-appointed emergency manager. As a cost-cutting move, the city began temporarily drawing its drinking water from the Flint River and treating it at the city water treatment plant while it waited for a new water pipeline to Lake Huron to be completed. Now, the reason why this was brought to my attention is because we saw this meme being shared around by Democrats. Now, I don't know if you can read that. It might be backwards, but it says Libertarian drinking water. Now, interesting. Libertarian drinking water. And here we have the Republican governor saying that the government failed at the federal, state, and local level. So how could that be libertarian drinking water? And it's funny because I saw another meme that I shared the other day, which is, I think, probably more accurate. And you can see here I don't know if you can focus in on that, but this is actually on my producer Petersen page. Now you can't read it. It says government-funded drinking water, and then, of course, free market drinking water, which are the beautiful, clean bottles of water that you can get anywhere. Now, listen to this. Who's been exposed to lead? Anyone who drank city tap water was exposed to lead, but children are more susceptible, of course, to lead-poisoned adults. Now, in lead level comparisons of nearby Detroit, they've got 2.3 parts per billion. Okay, and it's a cause for concern when they have 5 parts per billion. Flint, Michigan had 27 parts per billion. Okay, this is not the free market. Okay, and when I brought this up the other day, some of the liberal Democrats who are on my page said, "Oh, Austin, how will the free market deliver water?" Because I made the joke, of course, that Democrats and liberals, they believe that no one should have private ownership of water. So that's why I grabbed the bottle of water out of my friend's hand and said, "I'm sorry, you can't have that bottle of water. There's no private ownership of water." And so my Democrat friend said, well, it's totally different to own a bottle of water than it is to own a water treatment facility. Okay, so in the Democrats' world, you can own a bottle of water, but you can't own a big, large body of water, and you certainly can't treat that water and sell it to people because, that's the government's job. No private ownership of water. That's ridiculous, of course. That's the socialist idea. They want central control of the means of production, and water is an owned commodity. It's the kind of thing that anyone should be able to own and sell. And of course, because we have a free market in water, we have bottles of clean water for people to choose from. The free market provides it. But this is what the government provides. These reports. Detroit's parts per million, that's lead, okay? That's what your children are drinking right now in Flint, Michigan, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the government providing water to you again, okay? Now, it's like I read to you before, this started all the way back in 2014. Now we're going to have to pay $5 million in federal emergency funds. So now that the local government has screwed up, the federal government has to step in. And to me, this is really the cause of all of our problems in the United States. It is the government intervention into the free market that is causing the problems with our economy. I mean, take a look at any of the issues that we have to deal with. The 2008 housing crisis, perfect example. Well, what was the cause of the crisis? Well, it was the cause of the government stepping in and forcing the mortgage companies to provide loans to low-income buyers that were risky loans because the government was subsidizing it. And then we have government subsidizing of water, and what do we have? Now we have people actually being poisoned. Now, the government is accidentally poisoning people and through their negligence and their mishandling. Well, here's something else that the government doesn't want you to know. During the Prohibition years, when the government was trying to get people to stop drinking alcohol, they directly poisoned alcohol to teach people a lesson. So if the government is willing to do something so sick and so evil, why couldn't they screw up the arrival of our drinking water? Now people say, well, how are you possibly going to have pipes that will go to people's houses to be able to compete? I got on Google. I don't know if Democrats have Google. Do they? I don't think so. But if they did, they could go to Google, and if you search for water delivery, you can probably find about 15 different competing water delivery services in your area. So of course, if Nestle sells you a bad bottle of water, you can sue Nestle. If Flint, Michigan sells you a bad bottle of water, if they sell you bad water, well, the government is going to investigate itself and find no wrongdoing. So to me, again, this is the problem of government intervention in the free market. Water is a commodity just like anything else, and water is not something that should be controlled by government. The government should be out of water. They can't obviously regulate it. They have no incentive for keeping the water clean because they pay no price for being wrong. So again, I'm not sorry I interrupted your football guys because this kind of stuff just cheeves me off. I want to raise some money from this podcast or this live stream. Do me a favor, if you're just as cheesed as I am about this kind of stuff, go to austinpetersen2016.com right now. Send me $10. Send me enough to buy a few bottles of free market water for myself and my staff so I can get around the country. If you can't afford to do so because you're paying for the medical bills because the government poisoned you and your children with lead, do me a favor. Register as a volunteer. Join my campaign to take over the government and leave everyone alone. Thanks for watching our live stream, and then go back and enjoy your football game, guys. God bless America.